Good morning, everyone. This is Britt Simon. So I'm a little bit wonky here. What's going on? That's strange. And now I've messed up the balance probably. But okay, that might be better. Anyway, I thought I'd jump online. I've got a little bit of time, and I'm happy to take any of your questions. So if you have anything you want to ask about DV Lottery in order to get your green card, please feel free to ask those questions. Let me start, as I have done for about a year and a half now, talking about DV 2020 and DV 2021. There is no news. We're still waiting for the appeals court, and life has to continue until we have that news. Okay, so that answers your question, Anish. Let's see. People that say CRO 2NLs reached 14K for Egyptians and 21K for Sudanese in March. I thought it was up to a certain CM for both Egyptians and Sudanese, since both are CRO. Is this info true? Okay, so no matter which embassy an Egyptian is scheduled at, they can be limited by the visa bulletin, right? I think you understand the accept numbers, and so it is possible that you would have an accept number for Egyptians interviewing at Cairo, which would limit the amount of cases that could be, or the number of visa bulletin, that could be processed or interviewed, and then Sudan could be at a higher number. So it is possible. Whether your numbers are correct or not, I don't know. I don't know whether that's really correct. Let me just see if I can look that up and see if that's sort of easily seen from the data. Right, so I'm just going to pull this up. Should be the last. So Africa, yes, the accept number for Egypt, for example, for the month of January was 15,000, right? So no case above 15,000 could have been scheduled in Egypt for an Egyptian, right? But the Africa visa bulletin number at that same month was 22,000, and Sudan is not limited. And so, yes, there could have been someone at 22,000 in that month, scheduled for the month of January, and not, but it would not have been an Egyptian. It would have been a Sudanese candidate or from some other country. Okay, so yes, that's probably true what you've been told. Okay. ICC, good morning. In other words, can we know if case numbers are scheduled? Same thing. I think we just answered that, ICC, as your earlier question. Okay, 51K Egypt. When's the right time to decide if my case number is possible in Egypt or if it's hopeless? I don't know how long to wait and see. Not easy for me to get a residence in another country. Okay, this is really important. I had another question from someone. I did a video a few days ago and I just re-listened to it, and I was frustrated in that video because there was someone in that video who had just wasted their chance. They'd wasted their green card, and that particular person was someone at about case number 29,000 at Addis Ababa, who is almost certainly now not going to get their 2NL ever, because they've become current. When the visa bulletin went up to 40,000, that case number at 29,000 went current. But Addis Ababa is not going to get to 29,000, right? They went to 20,000 last year. They're at about 5,000 this year after nearly 6 months of processing. It's clear that they're probably going to get back to maybe 15 or 20,000. They're not going to get to 30,000, right? At 29,000, they're not going to get there. So that person waited too long to move, and this is basically what your question is about. And I had another question from someone this morning on a Telegram channel, a gentleman called Khalid. He's from Ethiopia, case number 44,000. And he's been asking in the channel for about 3 weeks, how much does it cost to transfer? What do I do to transfer? And people have answered him, but he's just ignored all of that information he's been given and just consistently keeps back and comes back and asks, how much does it cost to transfer? And the answer to that is, number one, is there is no cost to transfer. And number two, stop talking about transferring and start doing transferring, right? Like, this is idiotic to just sit there and ask a question for 3 weeks and just keep asking the question. And if that guy Khalid keeps asking this question for another 2 weeks, the next visa bulletin will be published. If that next visa bulletin goes above 44,000, his case will then be locked into Addis Ababa, and his green card will evaporate. It'll be disappeared forever. It'll be gone. Okay. Now, I've tried to make that very clear to Khalid, and so come back to your question then, ICC. You're rightly thinking, okay, how long can you wait and see, right? You're at 51K in Egypt. Well, the same sort of thing will happen, right? But Egypt is going to be behind Africa. So you may have another month, maybe, where you could just sort of wait and see. Maybe that would be okay. I very much doubt that, let me just check the visa bulletin, but I very much doubt that Egypt is going to go to 51,000 in the next visa bulletin, whereas Africa might. I don't think so, actually, but might do. Let me see. So the Egyptian number right now is 25,000. So yes, you've probably got at least another month, maybe 2 more months, ICC, right? And during that time, you're looking at the pace that Cairo will be setting. They haven't, as far as I know, taken any interviews for this month, for the month of March, right? So we'll have to see if they get some 2NLs in the next few days and until what case number they're at. But I don't think they're going to get to 51,000, frankly. So you're going to probably have to move. And then you just have to make a smart decision about where to move to. Okay, based on where you can travel to, based on maybe you've got some friends. Don't worry so much about the visa situation, but think about, could you go and stay with some friends or whatever? Okay. Okay, next question. Why are there some cases have a status at MVC? Every single case starts off at MVC, right? It is the starting point. If you've ever played Monopoly, it's go. It's the go point, right? It's completely meaningless. It doesn't mean that MVC are doing anything with your case. In fact, MVC never touch DV lottery cases. So the whole description that is shown under the status of at MVC, every word, you can just ignore every bit of that because it's got nothing to do with your case. All it means is you haven't been scheduled yet. So any case that isn't already current, any case that their DS-260 isn't processed, any case that they haven't submitted the DS-260 at all, any case where they submitted the DS-260, it's been processed, but the embassy is too slow working to take it. All of those cases, they're all saying at MVC, okay? So don't worry about MVC. It just means you haven't been scheduled. I am doing well. Thank you, Brian. Hello, Waramu. Why is Ghana an ideal place to process my DV? There is slow progress. Who the hell told you it's an ideal place to process your DV? It's absolutely the opposite of an ideal place to process your DV. Accra Embassy is doing terribly again. They've done 60 interviews. They've scheduled 60 interviews for the year so far. They haven't taken any for the month of March, as far as I know. They may do in the next couple of days, next few days before the end of the month. But honestly, it's not looking good, right? So no, it's the opposite of an ideal place. If you're not already locked into Accra, because your case number is current and you've been processed, if you're not already locked in, then get the hell out of there. Move somewhere else. Honestly, guys, you've got to start listening. I've been saying this long enough now. We're the end of January. I've been warning about this for months, but As soon as we saw the data at the beginning of January, this should have been very, very clear to people. Is there any other chance like DV? No, there isn't another program like DV. It's completely unique. In fact, it's probably unique in every country in the world. I don't think there's another country in the world that has such an attractive opportunity of emigrating to, where lots of people would like to emigrate to the country, and they make it possible through a lotto system like this, a lottery system like this. There are some countries that will willingly take you, right? With very easy requirements, but they're usually not great countries. Whereas America is a great country with lots of opportunity, and many more people would like to be able to emigrate here than we can possibly process or handle, right? So, Nana says, always grateful. If I hadn't bumped into you, I wouldn't have come here into the US. I had so many errors on my DS260. I'm glad you sorted them out, Nana. That's good. What do you think about that 2NL numbers for March for Cairo? Yeah, I don't know why they haven't issued any 2NLs yet for Cairo. It's kind of weird. Paige, had your interview in Sydney, January 23rd, and got approved. The interview experience section on the website was awesome. Great. Thanks for everything. Weighing up activation trip or straight up move. Yeah, perfect. I'm glad it went well for you. I remember you dropped into the other live session and mentioned that you were about to have it. So good. I'm glad it went well for you. And yeah, if people don't already know, on my website at britsimonsays.com, there is several years worth of interview experience stories. So people that go through the interview take a few minutes to write up as much as they can recall from the interview. And it's really interesting and important stuff to read. And, you may find your exact embassy in there, and you'll find some interesting information about your embassy. But if you just read lots of stories, you'll see a very common theme in the interviews, which will probably relax you, right? Because the common theme is that the questions being asked are not complicated. And for people that have prepared well and have their papers together and everything else and feel very confident and haven't told any lies, the interviews are dead easy. They're really easy, right? But the interview stories where people are brave enough to say where they've made mistakes are also interesting. People say, "Oh, I didn't have an I-134. I didn't think it was necessary," or "I didn't take my education document and I got denied because of this," or whatever. Those are also interesting. Sadder sometimes, but those are interesting too. So please do go and read and if you can't find the link, just Google these words I'm about to give you. Brit Simon, interview experience stories. Put those 4 words into Google and you'll find my link. And under there's a bunch of really good information, really important information. And I appreciate anyone that has taken the time to add that information over the years. It's fabulous. Brian says, everything's good. Any explanation for AS23K? I'm from Iraq. Don't know how the US Embassy is performing there. Well, it's not performing there is the answer. The embassy in Iraq is closed, obviously, so you have to interview somewhere else. Your case number at AS23 is quite, it's got some risk, right? It's not in the really safe range. So you're going to have to wait and see if you become current. But if you do become current, you won't be assigned. Oh no, maybe Baghdad is it reopened? I don't know. You have to see if that's reopened. I have to have a look. Oh, I'm going all fuzzy. I'm drunk. Hang on 1 second. I think I did something over here. Okay, let's see if that gets less fuzzy. Yeah, still a bit fuzzy. It's just soft focus to make me beautiful. Right, there's my hand. There's my face. Come on, camera. Good enough. Okay. Okay. Hi, Simon from Turkey. Case number 53XX, 5,300. When will it be your turn for the interview in Ankara? It's not going to be my turn for the interview in Ankara. It's going to be your turn, right? When is it going to be your turn? Is what you're actually asking, I think. Is that better? Why is this? Slightly better-ish. Ankara have become very slow. Yeah, so Ankara for the last couple of years have been sort of behaving in a very strange way. They've been sort of going slow, and we don't really know why. And it's kind of frustrating. I can't explain to you why they're doing that. I'm sorry, just fiddling around with the camera. I've obviously set some setting there wrong. I can't explain to you why they're doing it necessarily, other than to say, have a look at the immediate relative cases in Ankara. I think they're fairly high. But your case number at 5,300 is really, it shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be a problem. You should be okay. You just have to be patient, okay? Other people obviously are going to be more frustrated with higher case numbers. ICC again. Is South Korea a good embassy for an Egyptian? Why South Korea? Surely there's an easier place to get to than South Korea. I don't know anything about South Korea, I have to say. There's just not many cases processed there, so they don't have much of a track record. You can have a look at ICC. You've seen how I've produced videos on how you can find a different embassy. You can look at their performance, right? And there's good embassies, like Nairobi, for example, is doing very well. But there's other good embassies in Africa that would presumably be nearer to you. Okay. Okay. Case from Morocco. Any hope for an interview? Yes, you've probably got good chances. Same question there. You've repeated it a bunch of times. Just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for saying thank you. I'm just going to be destined to be out of focus here today, apparently. I asked KCC about my case, and they said it's ready for interview processing, but my case is still at MVC and it's Ankara. And your case number is 2024 7K. Okay. The good news there is you're a 7K case. You've got a good chance of being scheduled there. So for you, you obviously can't move, but you probably don't need to. You'll probably be scheduled at Ankara, but it might take some time. Okay. Zakir Hussain says, my visa has been issued, but my date of birth is wrongly entered in the visa and it's different from the passport. Is there a problem or not? Yes, you need to contact the embassy and correct the mistake. It may have been different in your DS-260, or they might just have made some sort of mistake. But either way, you should have it corrected. Just contact the embassy, okay, and explain what's going on. Hope Breakout. EU 10K and scheduled at Frankfurt, but I tried to register AIS, and I think they have a different system. Registered the other, but it does not show on the same homepage. Do you have any idea? Most embassies have an online system to register with that embassy, right? And generally speaking, the reason they ask you to register there is simply for the courier and any logistics. That embassy will then communicate to you if there's a need to change your interview date or something like that through that website and through that courier. They could also send passports through the courier, etc. So in those embassies that operate that way, you have to register, but you're not looking to register and get an appointment. You already have an appointment. So you're just looking to create an account. That's all you need to do. How it works at each of the individual embassies, I don't know, right? Some of the systems are the same, but I don't know AIS in particular. But all I can say is these systems are designed to be used without any training, right? So it should be possible for you to just look, use your sort of common sense and have a look at the page and see what it's telling you, right? It should be possible to work it out. It can't be hard. It's designed to not be hard, right? Yeah, Bilal, stop with asking loads of questions, please. Are the credits from England accredited universities accepted in the USA, or do I still have to do some classes here? Thank you. That's a very general question, right? I can't be specific about every credit that you would have. What I would say is, in general, the UK education system is slightly ahead of the US education system. A degree in America takes 4 years to complete, bachelor's degree, typically. And that's partly because they want to charge you for 4 years, whereas other countries you can do the same thing in 3 years. But education is a for-profit business over here. And so if they can tell you to take 4 years of an education to do an education you could get elsewhere for 3 years, they will tell you that because they can make more money from you, right? So it's a very wise idea to gather whatever documentation you have from a university abroad or even A-levels to make sure that you can enter at the right place in the education system in the States, right? And as to what credits will be carried across from old universities and that sort of thing, I can't get into specifics, but you obviously, you can imagine that a credit for, X number of credits from a UK university should be at least equivalent to, what's offered by an American university, considering they take 4 years to do the same thing that we do in the UK in 3 years. Okay. Okay. How many months will it take to send interviews in case we win the appeal? How can I possibly answer that one? I have no idea. This has never happened before, right? We're in totally new territory. I don't know what system they'll use, what ordering process they'll use. I have no idea, right? Just completely unanswerable question, Rupert. And I think you probably could have realized that if you thought about it. Right, 9K Nepal, doing AS from AO1. Is it the right time to pay the DV fee or too early? It's the right time. If you want to be able to submit your I-485 as soon as possible, the soonest possible time, then yeah, you could do that now. Nepal is at 5,000, right? They could easily jump up in the next visa bulletin to maybe 7,500, something like that. And it'll be pretty close to your case. So when you send the payment in to KCC, it takes a few weeks for you to get the receipt. And ideally, you want that receipt to be added to your package when you send in the I-485 package. So you've got to send it a little bit ahead of time in order to save yourself time later, right? And clearly 9,000 is going to get current. So, there's no risk in sending it. If you were Nepal 13,900, I might say maybe you want to wait, right? If the $330 is something you wouldn't want to lose, right? Is there a possible for 47K in Kenya to get to NL? Yep, very possible. Is it possible ACRA will not be taking interviews for the rest of the fiscal year? Is it possible, Kofi? Yes, it's possible. It's possible that they would do that. Is that likely? No, I don't think that's likely. And that's not what I think is going to happen. I think they're just going to go very slowly, right? Why many holes in DV 2024? Right. Holes are created from cases which are submitted during the DV entry. They are ordered, they're picked by the random number system as being a winner, and then disqualified by a process of elimination after that initial selection, before the entry, before the results, right? Those disqualifications, eliminations happen for various reasons: background checks within their system, photos mainly, either photos that don't comply with the instructions, very obviously don't comply, or photos that show that you've had multiple entries. And so there are various reasons why they create those holes, right? But whatever system is creating the holes, or whatever reason is creating the holes, apparently has been dialed up this year. Like, more holes have been created in some regions than we've had before, right? That means they're doing more to filter out fraudulent entries and bad entries. So, that's why there are more holes, basically. Thank you, Bilal, for saying sorry. Kilani, hi, long time no see. Why they send 2NLs till AF 34,000 and not AF 40,000? I did a video about this a few days ago, where I've explained that AF 40,000 was too high, right? It's clear to me and it was clear before the last week's 2NLs, it's clear to me that embassies that even have accepted a lot of cases haven't been able to schedule interviews all about 40,000. That means since all of them have done that, right, let me just check the data and see if that has actually been confirmed now. Let me just see. I mean, we haven't finished all of the scheduling. There could be some more 2NLs sent, but the highest case number that's got an interview is about 34,000 and a bit, right? They're only going out to about 34,000. So with all of these highly performing embassies, the embassies that are doing really well, like Casablanca, Algeria, Nairobi, seems strange to say that, but even that one, and others, none of them has scheduled up to 40,000. That means that the visa bulletin was moved too far, too quickly. So everybody celebrated, it's gone to 40,000, but no, it was too much, right? And that's why I said in a video a few days ago that I don't expect another big jump for the next visa bulletin, because what they've got to do is actually catch up to the 40,000 number, first and foremost, of cases that are already current. And there's going to be quite a number of the next monthly capacity that will be spent on cases under 40,000. So they may not even increase the visa bulletin number at all for Africa. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. But if they do increase it, it'll be a small jump, in my opinion, a small increase. It won't be another 13,000, case number jump. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see in about a week and a half's time from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, when the next visa bulletin is published. But that, I think, is pretty accurate assessment of the position. Okay. When do I think 26100 will have a chance to interview in EU? I don't know. I'm not going to try and predict that precisely. You can have a look at the progress and see what you think. I've given plenty of information about where I think we're going to end up at the end. So you can have a look at that and try and figure out, just chunk up. I've explained how to do this. You take the number that they're at today, you take one of my projections and see if you agree, and then chunk up that movement into about 6 or 7 chunks, or 6 chunks. Probably want to go on to about August, and see what they're going to actually schedule in each month based on that information, right? I've put a video out that explains that. Okay. AF10K embassy is currently scheduled for 36K, but your case is, my case is still not processed. Anything to worry about? What might be the problem? So you may have submitted your DS260 late. You may have, may not, but it may have been submitted late. If you submitted it early enough, and it's surprising, therefore, that it's not processed yet, then it probably means that there is something about your case that is taking longer to background check than other cases, right? And it may be something to do with your work. It may be something to do with your travel history or where you've lived. It may be something to do with, your name being very similar to a name that appears on the terrorism list or is associated with a name that appears on the terrorism lists. And so there's something in your background that has caused a delay on your particular case. It could also be, by the way, that you either come from or have spent time in a country which is uncooperative, and so, or has bad systems, right? And, perhaps Sudan, for example, if you're from Africa, maybe there's some other countries which have got bad systems. But anyway, that's probably likely. Now, you're saying that they're currently scheduled for 36K. There's no embassy that is scheduled to 36K, but there you go. Right. Based on the 2.5 updates, do you see Asia's number jumping next month? I think Asia is progressing as it should do at the moment. So yes, there will be a jump, there will be an increase, but it won't be a massive increase. It won't be by 10,000 or something, but it will increase a bit. Okay. ICC says they sent 144. I thought I just looked at this actually. Let me just check. I must have mistyped it. I looked for Cairo today. Is that right? 144. You're right. On 119. So that's good. So that's a refreshing, hopeful sign. So they had previously scheduled 329 cases. They've now scheduled 144 in January. That's good. I'm just having a look at the data there. They're up to, they got 22,000 for Sudan. They look pretty well scheduled up until 15. Starting to look better, ICC. Starting to look better. Maybe they're going to catch up. We'll have to see. The real thing there is how far behind the visa bulletins do they get? They're at 25,000, I think, right now, right? Yeah, 25,000. So 25,000 is the highest number they could schedule, but they haven't scheduled to that point. So how far behind, how many months behind are they? And we'll have to see in the next couple of months, as we talked earlier, to see whether they start to catch up with that backlog. And if they do 144, that's not great, but it's not bad either. It's not as many as I would like to see from Cairo. I think we need to be seeing numbers like 200 plus from Cairo with the amount of cases that they've got. They've got 11,000 selectees to deal with, right? Sudan and Egypt together, it's about 11,000 selectees, so roughly about 5,000 cases. So if they were to try and interview 5,000 cases, they would have to be doing sort of 300, 400 a month minimum, right? So when I say I expect to see them doing 200 a month, that's really just a reasonable expectation. That's not me dreaming at all. That's what they should be doing, at least 200, 250, maybe 300 in some of the months, right? They should be doing that. If they're not doing that, they're going to continue to build the backlog. That's the problem there. That's what you'll have to see. I'll do a little bit more careful analysis on that and maybe talk about Cairo in particular now. They're starting to improve, perhaps. Just got my GC. How long can I stay out of the USA without having penalties in one calendar year? Right. Whenever you talk to immigration lawyers, they say keep your absences from the US under 6 months. The reason they say that is that a green card holder coming back after 6 months will have a slightly easier time of re-entering than one who stays out between 6 months and 1 year. Technically, you can stay out for up to a year, but a couple of things happen. Number one, if you have been out for more than 6 months but less than 1 year, you will be allowed back into the USA, but you may be questioned a bit more about why you were out and that sort of thing. It's a re-inspection. It's a proper inspection, and some immigration officers have been known to be quite bad mood about that and aggressive in the questions that they ask. So that's one thing. You want to avoid that if you can. If you can't, then do it. But if you can get back before 6 months, then that's better. The other thing about being back before 6 months is that it doesn't stop the clock on your citizenship time, right? So in order to get citizenship, there's a formula of how long you need to be in the country within that first 5 years, and so you need to figure out how to stay within those rules. And generally, absences over 6 months will cost you some impact to that formula. Okay. Do you think the next VB will increase next month, Algeria? And what do you think highest number will reach? I've talked about that. I don't have a particular estimate for Algeria. Okay. Any possibilities for 2NL case number? I've already answered that one. What's the importance of updating my status in administrative processing? I don't really understand the question, but you don't update your status, right? But sometimes if you're in 221G, if that's what you mean, sometimes the embassy will review your case, or maybe they've got some documentation in, or maybe you email them and ask a question. And all of those things cause a case update in your CX status, right? So it's quite funny. People sometimes say, I I saw a case update on my status and I'd emailed them just 2 days earlier. Do you think they're going to make a decision now? And I'm like, no. All that happened was you emailed them and they update your case to say you've emailed them. And so you caused your own update to the case. It's like, it's nothing to get excited or worked up about. It's logical, right? You can figure that out. Okay, hi, please clear field this information to me. My wife played DV lottery single. That's already a problem. And doing the DS260 application, I was added. Now, how can we increase our chances of getting a visa? Let me make this very simple for you. If your wife was married at the time that she entered and she said she was single, and she was married to you and, she lied about being single, then your chance of getting the visa is 0%. No doubt about it, 0%, right? And you, frankly, would be pretty idiotic to turn up to the interview and spend the money. Now, if on the other hand, you're calling this lady your wife because you married after the entry, then there's a possibility you can get the visa, right? But I suspect it's the first, right? Because of the way you ask the question. So, I'm going to assume that your wife lied on the form, which is fraud. And the form makes very clear that if you lie on that form about being married or single or whatever, that you'll be disqualified. And the news is, yes, they will disqualify you. They weren't kidding. And she's given them the evidence they need by including you on the DS260. So you're screwed. I mean, sorry to be blunt, but that's the only way I can put it, really. What do I think about 22K for an Iranian? Very, very risky, Ali, because the case number is relatively high as compared to Asia as a whole, which means it would be, if it got current at all, it would be late in the year. It's high for Iran, which means you're at the back of the queue of 5,500 people. And so, that's bad, right? And you're an Iranian male, and being interviewed very late in the year, if that even were to happen, for an Iranian male is almost a curse, because you're unlikely to be approved in time, right? So, on all three counts, it's really not looking good, Ali. So I think you need to come to terms with the fact that you're probably not going to get your green card this year, and enter again in October. Okay, and keep an eye on it. Maybe a miracle will happen, but I don't think so, to be honest. Hello, Simon. I'm from Kenya. My interview is next month, but the problem is I've got pending medicals due to a sputum test. Do you think I'll have to reschedule the appointment or just go with it? Go with it, right? You go to the appointment and you follow up with the medical results. Okay, so you'll be on 221G while you're waiting for those results, which will take 3 months from the medical. But you go to the interview and you follow the results up, and then that's with me assuming that you don't have TB. If, on the other hand, you think you have TB and you think the test is warranted, then maybe you want to delay the interview so that you don't spend the money until you've got a clear test. That would be your other way of doing it. Okay. I think we already answered that one. Oh no. Yep. I've already answered that one. Good morning. How is the Montreal embassy from Iran? AS 12,000 Canadian citizen waiting to be current. The Montreal embassy is doing okay. They tend to issue a lot of DS5535s, and since you're Iranian, you're very likely to get that, right? So that's something that will probably happen. But your case number is not ridiculously high, so you've got a chance. There might be enough time to be processed. Since I've been living in Canada for 10 years, and the background check had been done 10 years ago, is it helped speed up my background check for the current DV lottery. Why would a background check for Canada done 10 years ago help speed up your process for American immigration 10 years later? It's 10 years ago. It's a different country. No, it's not going to speed up your American visa process. How could it? No. That's a really odd question if you think about it, Hassan. could have probably reasoned that. You know, Canada is a different country to America, right? Why would America listen to what Canada thinks about your background check from 10 years ago? That's a weird question. What does this mean? The Kentucky Consular Center has received your email. Review of documents prior to scheduling of the program has been halted for the DV 2024 program year. It means exactly what it says. The KCC got your email, and they don't need to have any documents prior to the appointment being scheduled, right? There used to be a procedure where they asked you to send in documents, but that was halted in the DV 2022 program for all of the, for all the remainder of that year, then all of DV 2023, and it's been confirmed there is no document process in DV 2024. That's all it means. Okay. From Morocco, any hope to get an interview? Yes, probability is high. When do we expect the next 2NL for Africa? 2NLs are being sent almost daily, right? So there'll be some probably on Monday. It's no holiday on Monday, so you're probably on Monday, maybe Tuesday, There'll be a few more still before the end of the month. My friend from Ethiopia is a winner of DV 2024. His case number is 47K. What's your advice, please? Again, listen to what I said earlier, and please take it seriously. That case in Addis is going to be a problem, right? So, get the hell out of there quickly, right? Wind back to the beginning of this video, probably about 5 minutes in. I talked about a very similar case for 44K in Ethiopia, and you've got to make a change here. What's the best way to win the DV lottery 2025? I have an absolute piece of advice for you. The best way to win is to enter. It increases your chances. Like if you've got two people and one enters and the other one doesn't enter, the one that doesn't enter won't win. The one that does enter might win, right? So there's a big difference. So you have to enter. That's the only advice I've got. There isn't a trick to this, guys. I saw a video with some YouTuber who literally said she's got some sort of magic way of getting people to win. Complete nonsense, absolute voodoo nonsense. God can't help you. Voodoo won't help you. Nobody has any special skills in winning. It's a random draw, right? So just fill in the form and don't make any mistakes. Don't lie, and you might get picked. That's all you have to do. But yeah, it's 100% increase over someone who doesn't enter, right? I'm such a meanie sometimes, aren't I? Never mind. Case number 12.7K from Nepal. Am I the risk zone? No, not really. I've already said that. Nepal cases won't have a risk. They'll probably all go current. I found a person with an 18 case number as well, whereas the CX data chart shows Nepal around 13K. Yeah, the case number 18K, that's not a Nepal case. It isn't. It may be someone who is physically in Nepal or someone you know, but it's someone who claimed to not be Nepalese, right? That's what that means. What's Guangzhou in China? They're fine because they don't get many cases, right? So they're okay. Bilal, you're starting to repeat your questions again. You already said sorry for all the spamming that you're doing, and now you're repeating the questions again. Come on, let's not be silly about this. Okay. Let's see, 18. Okay, AS 13,000 will probably be current, and Frankfurt is a good embassy, so yeah, you'll be fine. Kigali, any chance of 70K? 70K is on the sort of the iffy zone, right? So you have to wait and see if 70K gets current, right? And have a look at the embassy performance as well. But but it's mostly about your number. Green card 18,000 number. I have a son. I'm divorced. He doesn't want the child to come. Is it our problem to give me visa? Okay. Okay. So you've given me a number. You're not asking about your number though. But when you give a number, give the region, please. It helps me tremendously. And if you don't give me the region when you give me the number, then I have to go and kill an angel, right? So please don't make me kill more angels. If you're divorced and you share custody with a parent, you don't have, normally in most countries, you don't have the 100% right to take that country out, to take that child out of the country, and so you would need a written letter or an agreement with the with the person. It sounds like they don't want to agree, and so at the embassy, when you're going through the interview process, you will probably be asked to prove that you have agreement to take the child to America, and you won't have that. So that will cause you a problem. You'll probably be denied without that proof. Okay. Case number is 11,532. Very specific. You don't have to be specific. You can just say 11,000 range. 11XXX, but always put the region on the front. You're in Kinshasa, but I've not received anything from the immigration regarding the interview or anything, but the cutoff number is, yep. So they're a little bit delayed, and you have to be a bit patient, but your case number is not high. So just be a little bit patient, okay? I love these sort of questions. Hi, Simon. You always skip my questions. I don't have luck, I think. So I told you DS processing in Algeria is at 40K. Is it possible to predict a VB bigger than the number of DS processed? Yeah, so your understanding of how they process DS 260s is incorrect. It's not by number, it's by submission time. So if you found someone who is processed, it simply means that they submitted their DS260 early, and there's been time to process their case. They open DS260s in date of submission order. There's no doubt about that. You may disagree, but you would be wrong to disagree. There's no doubt about that, right? It's not by case number. It just isn't. So the prediction of basing it on the number of DS260s is pointless. There are people with cases at 100,000 something who've had their DS260 processed. Okay, so there's no relationship between the two things, right? When do you think the visa will end? Year? Do you think the visa will be up to September or August? Okay, so they stopped issuing visas on September 6th last year, DV 2023. That was very unusual. It's only happened, I've been doing this about 10 years. It's only happened a couple of times in the time I've been doing this, that they've stopped the process early for all countries. And that they cancelled interviews as well was really very, very unusual, right? So normally they've done enough of a good job earlier in the year to have a more organized September, a more organized August. And so they don't normally have to stop the process. They normally schedule the right amount of interviews, etc. Now, things may get a bit chaotic this year in September, but I don't think it will happen in August, okay? Hi, Simon, you're welcome. I didn't say thank you, but my case number is 66,000 in Africa, so it's possible to go current. And can I get 2NL? Do you see any? Did you see any year that reached 66K and got visa? There have been years that have gone higher than 66K, but that completely means nothing in comparison to this year, right? Now, I've done an analysis saying where I think the case numbers will end up, and it's around about that number that you're mentioning there. Probably a little bit more than that, but it's around about that range. So there's some risk at that case number, but not like no chance or not total safety. It's something in between. It's like there's some risk, right? But just because a case number went current in some previous year doesn't mean a damn thing compared to this year. You have to look at each year differently and understand how many cases there are before that particular number, right? And it depends on holes, and it depends on the distribution of cases and all sorts of things. So don't say, oh, well, like I saw this morning, a very silly comment, frankly, from a gentleman called Ronnie, who should damn well know better, pointed out that in DV 2021, there were cases right up to 80,000 that got their visas. Yeah, true. But only, we're talking about Africa, only 5,500 people got their visas in that year. It was a complete shit show. It was not a good year. And so comparing that year to this year is completely stupid, frankly. I don't know why he did it. It's very misleading to do that. So, Ronnie, don't do that again. That's ridiculous. But anyway, 66K, you got a chance. You have to wait and see, really. Okay. If I messed up DV application from earlier years, will it affect my current DV if I'm selected? Depends what you did in earlier years. Frankly, if you try to do some sort of fraud, you can get yourself onto a blacklist and never be approved again, right? So you have to wait and see whether you're selected again. Okay, couple more questions. I'm sorry for the grammar mistakes, but my friend wanted to know about his case AF71K. If you don't mind, thank you for everything. Yeah, look, again, same thing as I was just explaining to our friend at 66K. It's in that sort of risky range, right? AF71K might go current, might not. We'll have to wait and see how things go. Okay. The embassy in Iraq is open now. Yeah, I had a nagging feeling it was, but I wasn't 100% sure. But thank you, Brian, for confirming that. That's good. Baghdad. Let's see how they're doing. Let's see how many cases they've got. Baghdad. Yeah, they took 12 cases this month. So that's cool. So they took 51 in the 3 months up until January the 1st, and then they took 12 in January for March, right? So they're doing something. It's not great. It's not like loads of cases. They're only up to about case number 7,000 or something. But at least they've got, it's something. It's not, it's not wonderful. Actually, that's probably not too bad since it's, let's see, it's Asia. Let's see, Asia. Yeah, 7,000. So they've taken case numbers of all ranges up until the current number. So it might actually be okay. Maybe they'll be okay. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Okay, another one that I've got to be blunt with. Change your bloody address. If you're AF50K in Addis, you're not going to get scheduled there in Addis, right, at 50K. So yes, go contact your aunt. Go live there, right? Live there. Open your DS260 and announce that you've moved to live with your aunt, right? And then you'll get scheduled. And when you get scheduled, you can either attend that interview in Nairobi, or if you've moved back to Addis at that point, you could transfer your now scheduled interview from Nairobi to Addis, and Addis would accept that, right? And if you look at the data from DV 2023, you will see people that have done exactly that, okay? I've explained that on a previous video. I don't want to go into much more detail than that, but that is possible if you happen to move back from Nairobi back to Addis, right? So for God's sake, just unlock your bloody DS260. All right, get on with it. I'm from Ethiopia. Yeah, we just talked about that one. Do I need a good reason for them to tell them later in the interview or while changing KD? Oh, okay. No. So, no, you don't really need a good reason. You just need to unlock. You don't ask KCC to change your embassy. That is the wrong thing to do. You just ask KCC to unlock your DS260 and you change your address. Okay, that's all you have to do. I've got an article about changing embassies. Again, Google Brit Simon changing embassies, right? 3 words in Google, and you'll find that article that explains exactly how to get KCC to change the interview location for you. Okay. Couple more here. Let's see if I can find something. Charlotte says, do you think the UK have a good chance for upcoming DV 2025 results? The UK, an entry from the UK has the same chance exactly as an entry from France or from Germany or from Italy or Spain or any other European country, right? They have the same chance. Now, how many cases therefore will go to UK compared to those other countries I just mentioned? Well, it will depend how many people from the UK enter. It's entirely that. It's a random draw. So with lots and lots of people in a big bucket, right? As you know, it's kind of like someone's plucking out the draws. The more people from the UK or from any particular country that are in that big bucket, the more likely it is that one of those entries drawn will be from the UK. So so they will get the same chance as every other country in Europe, apart from a couple of countries that get less chance, right? Which I've explained in various videos, but there are a couple of countries that are limited in Europe. One of them is Uzbekistan. So you'll see all of the selectees from Uzbekistan are all concentrated in the low number ranges. And I've just created a video to talk about exactly why that happens. But ignoring that for a minute, the law says there is an equal chance of any case within the region, right? The chance is different from EU region to Africa region to OC region, for example. But within the region, any country within that region should have an identical chance of selection. And they do, because that's how the process works, right? Okay. Okay. I have European citizenship, DV260 sent to Warsaw. That's weird. Why would you send a DV260 to Warsaw? But anyway, case number 37K, probably. Also have a residence permit in Morocco. Does it make sense to transfer the case to Morocco? No, Warsaw's doing fine. Why would you go to Morocco? You'll be fine in Warsaw. They're doing very well. Okay, quick scan down. Crikey. Clinton. I very rarely get anybody from North American region, so let's talk about Clinton. This will be the last one. So, when current in the present visa bulletin under the North American region. Well, good for you, dude. And I'm next in line for the interview, but I haven't received my 2NL as yet. Should I expect a 2NL before January 31st? Case number 2024 NA7. That's awesome. Rarely get people from North American region because there's so few of them, right? Okay, should you get your interview before January 31st with 2NL? You might do. I can't say you won't, but obviously there's one embassy there that's typically handling those cases, and it's a massive workload to deal with the other 6 cases in front of you. I don't think there's even 6 cases in front of you. There's probably a couple of holes. So, you know, I don't know. But look, we're in January, Clinton. It's not a problem. You'll be fine. You don't have the same problems as other countries, other regions. So if it's January 31st, great. And you'll have you'll have a March interview. If it's February, sometime you get your 2NL, you'll have an April interview. It doesn't matter. The green cards handed out in April are just as good as the ones handed out in March, right? So you'll be fine. Okay, Clinton? But lovely to have someone from the North American region on the video here. So appreciate you asking the question. Keep in touch. I want to know what happens. In fact, I'd love a interview experience typed up for my blog, BritSimonSays.com. Please make sure you go there and Google the words Brit Simon interview experience stories. And then once you've had your interview, add your comments about that. I'd love one. It'd be great. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining in this morning. Appreciate all your time. I know there's still some questions I haven't got to, but you can ask your questions at BritSimonSays.com and I will answer them there. Okay. Now, also, please do make sure you subscribe and take a minute now and just click the like button on this video, please, if you can do that. Even though I've obviously deliberately made my soft focus, skin to iron out all the wrinkles because I can't work the damn camera. I'll have a look at that now and fix that for the next video. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.